always from the heart of the city, and now on demand 24/7 on the CHFI website. This is the soundtrack to accompany a climb. And I'm Don Jackson, around the world on the internet. Heroism, the Caucasian mountaineers say, is endurance for one moment more. The words of George Keenan in a letter to Henry Monroe Rogers, dated July 25th, 1921. It was on tomorrow's date that the greatest of all mountains was finally conquered, Mount Everest. And this year, it was even climbed by a very young boy. It was William Blake who wrote, "Great things are done when men and mountains meet." This hour we'll make the climb as well, with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Edwin McCain and I'll Be, and Miley Cyrus with The Climb. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. St. Augustine, the early Christian priest, said, "People travel to wonder at the height of the mountains, at the huge waves of the seas, at the long course of the rivers, at the vast compass of the ocean, at the circular motion of the stars, and yet they pass by themselves without wondering." The closest most of us ever get to the mountains is when we ski in winter or go hiking on a summer trip. Few of us will climb Everest. But we have mountains to climb all through life. Some may seem as challenging as the Himalayas. Some years back, Bob Talbert in the Detroit Free Press wrote, and I quote, "Most of us could move mountains if only someone would clear the foothills." Unquote. How true. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Friday, May 28th, 2010. Tim McGraw, Live Like You Were Dying. Savage Garden, Truly, Madly Deeply, and Norah Jones, and Come Away With Me. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. 57 years ago. It's amazing the time. This is called Refusing to Accept Failure by Brian Kavanagh. He writes, and I quote, "Sir Edmund Hillary was the first man to climb Mount Everest. On May 29th, 1953, he scaled the highest mountain then known to man. 29,000 feet, straight up. He was knighted for his efforts. He even made American Express card commercials because of it. However, until we read his book, High Adventure, we don't understand that Hillary had to grow into this success." You see, in 1952, he attempted to climb Mount Everest, but failed. A few weeks later, a group in England asked him to address its members. Hillary walked on stage to thunderous applause. The audience was recognizing an attempt at greatness. But Edmund Hillary saw himself as a failure. He moved away from the microphone and walked to the edge of the platform. He made a fist and pointed at a picture of the mountain. He said in a loud voice, "Mount Everest, you beat me the first time, but I'll beat you the next time, because you've grown all you're going to grow. But I'm still growing." Unquote. Refusing to accept failure by Brian Kavanaugh. Lovers and Other Strangers. From iTunes and CHFI.com. The Dixie Chicks and Landslide, the Canadian Tenors, I Only Know How to Love, and Marc Cohn and A True Companion. And I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Sometime back, a writer in a very old edition of the Britannica said, and I quote, "Because of their height and grandeur, mountains have always impressed man as objects of unchanging strength. The scientist who studies them, however, finds constant proof that they do not deserve their poetic name, the everlasting hills." Unquote. We may think that they're set in stone, but they're not. And just that thought should give us all hope for our own personal mountains. They too cannot last forever. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com.
Stand by me, stand by me. Whenever you're in trouble, won't you stand
Benny King and Stand By Me, and Amanda Marshall, Trust Me. This is Love. And I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. J.R. Miller wrote, "With all the infinite possibilities of spiritual life before you, do not settle down on a little patch of dusty ground at the mountain's foot in restful content. Be not content until you reach the mountain's summit." Unquote. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Nikki Yanofsky and I Believe, and Josh Groban and You Raise Me Up. And I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. I've always liked this thought. From Ingmar Bergman, quoted by Charles Merowitz in the New York Times Magazine, and I quote, "Old age is like climbing a mountain. The higher you get, the more breathless and tired you become. But your view becomes much more extensive." Unquote. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com.
To fly.
Good night, sweet dreams. I'm Don Jackson.